Hello my friends and welcome back and happy Monday to you. We are going to survive this week once again. The surviving game begins. But we are only starting, but the weekend for Russia, it was pretty insane because it was the presidential election weekend. The Russian citizens have elected a new president. Everything will change in a country. Can you feel the reformation in the air? The thawing of the secret police? No. Putin won, and we already knew beforehand the percentages. I think I even called it. In the previous week, the last video, I said usually Russian presidential elections will be won by 87 or 97%, and this time it was 87. So, called it. In this video, I have gathered all of the noteworthy videos from Putin's elections, presidential election. It's not even an election. It's a play. It's a sham. It's a bamboozlement of the people, but there was funny and weird videos from it. We're gonna watch all of it and analyze the entire election process. But before we go, I just want to show you a little bit of Putin's electoral ads. Vote for Putin, the president of Russia who restored peace and stability after the 90s. And these are not memes, these are real photos from Russia. A mediocre Russian city has situations like this. This is a doggy doing his doggy things and the house behind. Like, they don't really maintain anything, weaponry or houses, and they don't really fix them also. And if you think the roads in US or Europe are bad, you're mad about a few potholes on your way to work, then this is, by the way, these panelkas, these big buildings here, this is a city with some thousands at least of population. And this used to be a paved road, possibly, but now it's Rasputitsa, which is just the raining and thawing of snow, water and everything. This is real roads in Russia. It's not an isolated event. Of course, not in St. Petersburg, in Moscow, but if you go to like Chelyabinsk or Yekaterinburg, you can see stuff like this. It's insane. And of course, a beautiful, beautiful Russian scenery here. Alright, my friends, now the Russian official information of what was the voting result from the occupied Ukrainian oblast. We're talking about Crimea, Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, and Luhansk. I'll read you the percentages, the official Russian numbers. Crimea 93.3, Kherson 88.1, Zaporizhia 92.8, Donetsk 95.2, Luhansk 94.1. Wow, people really love Russia in those occupied areas where Russians bombarded everything to pieces and destroyed most houses. The owners of these houses really do love Putin, as we can see according to these percentages. Now, my friends, I have ordered these videos for you in two categories. First of all, fire incidents in the voting booths, and second of all, green paint incidents in the voting booth. If it all confuses you right now, don't worry, we'll go through all of them. We'll begin with the fire incidents, and since there were so many, I can actually make this category. I mean, imagine if your election is so bad that a random military blogger can make a separate category of accidents called fire incidents in the voting booths. Well, that's the truth here. Let's go. In this first video, we can see a woman on the left here in the booth, and we can already see something beautiful glowing. Now, what does she do to show her discontent? Very casually throws a molotov cocktail out of the voting booth. I think she thought nobody would notice. There's like 5 people in a room. It's a small room, and she's like, I don't really like Putin, so I guess I'm gonna burn the place to the ground. And now she casually walks out of the booth. Nobody does nothing to her. What is going on here? Well, it's just Russia. That's just Russian things. Now, my friends, I bring you another video of the voting booths. What is going to happen here? Parabim! Yes, the left one. Again, why is it always the left one? I don't know. Well, this left one here exploded for some reason randomly. And we can see it, boom! Loud explosion. I don't know why, it's spontaneous combustion. Stuff like that happens in the Russian elections. This, my friends, is Moscow. And we can see a guy actually burning his voting paper right in the booth. So people in Russia really don't care much about the spreading of fire. They are very willing to start these fires inside the voting booths. Not a problem for them. In this photo, you can see a voting ballot paper in Mariupol, occupied Mariupol, a Russian occupied city with the most casualties among the civilian population. And I'll bring you the translation. It's just Slava Ukrainian Putin huilo, which I don't really need to translate, but this is on the voting page. Now, my friends, yet another casual scenery at the Russian presidential election booth. The floor is on fire. The floor is on fire. We don't need no water. Let the burn. Okay, they put it out. Well, spontaneous combustion is a real issue in Russia lately with the oil refineries and now also with the president election booths. Now, this, my friends, is Moscow and it's very interesting. Again, it's a woman. It's a Moscow woman. It's like a Florida man, but a Moscow woman. What does she do? It's a clear area, nobody around. She's inside a very narrow booth. And what does she think it's a good idea to do? Let's see. Well, she sets the whole damn thing on fire. Everything. In daylight. She films it. She doesn't run away. She films it in front of the security. And now she's like, the security comes to talk to her. Like, what did you do? Did you set it on fire? Okay. I'm always amazed of how people react in this CCTV, Russian footages, or how they don't react. They're so used to random chaos around them that this doesn't really make a difference for them. And now, my friends, another angle of this same thing. As you can see, the woman was just filming it. The whole booth was on fire. This guy is grabbing this water jug, which you can drink out of, and trying to do something with it, but it doesn't obviously work. Doesn't put out the fire. What are you doing, my man? What are you doing? Chudelam. Okay, now it's out. Thanks to that. Such random chaos. And by the way, this is the woman who did it. This is the security guard or the soldier next to him. And they're both filming it. The security guard is not even arresting her. Oh, Russia, so bad. And now the guy is like, oh, boom, she did it, take it. And now they take it. She tries to... She's like, okay, gotta go. Too much. Oh my God, it's so stupid. What happens in Russia, man? But I will bring you another meme. Now this, you would think it's photoshopped, but it's not. It's yet another oil refinery in Russia, which every day now have been destroyed by Ukrainian drones, incredibly successfully. But just with a bad luck, I guess, just in front of that oil refinery is Putin's electoral ad. Putin guarantees stability. This is his ad's theme or topic. And behind this ad, this oil refinery is burning. I mean, this is officially and publicly the stability that he brings. Burning oil refineries and rising prices. My friends, we officially have finished and concluded the fire incidents category of Putin's electoral campaign. Now we'll go on to the green paint incidents, but before I bring in some honorable mentions of what happened during this electoral weekend, here we casually see a Russian soldier checking in the booths, making sure that people vote for the right president. As you can see, the hand is on the trigger, letting the voters know that I am ready to shoot you if you don't vote for Putin. Russian democracy, everybody. And now we officially begin with a category called green paint. And of course, the first one is blue, but usually they're green. Only this one is blue, trust me. This one is blue though. What they do in Russia, and usually it's the old pensioners. It's always a woman, an old pensioner, and she does it and she doesn't run away. So weird. They pour green paint, in this case blue, in the boxes. That ruins the votes. I don't know what they're trying to do, because usually Putin's electoral elections have been printed votes anyway. Like if they conclude the elections, then the guys will just fill out the ballots with their own votes later. So destroying these votes doesn't really do much, but I guess it makes a good video and photo. I'm glad she did it. Now, my friends, we'll begin with the green paint, and I have a cool story with it. A Russian voting booth again. Let's see what happens here. Okay. Already green paint somewhere? Okay, I missed it. I guess somebody was doing it inside. She comes out. And boom, yeah, the guy grabbed it. She tried to go to the boxes here and fill it up with the green paint. But the guy was quite fast and grabbed it and just went to the ground. And the guy was taken away by the police. Or the woman, I think might be a woman, I don't know. The thing is, why green paint? Well, green in Russian means zelyony. Zelyony means green. Zelyonka is the green paint. Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, has the green basis, the basic root of the word green in Russian in the name. Zelensky, zelyony. Well, it's no coincidence that Russians in protest against Putin pour green paint in the voting ballots. Ooh, something different. Now we see a young woman doing it. I've never seen any man do it yet. Women are much braver in Russia than men, turns out. Well, this is a young woman walking to the booth, the voting booth, and she pours the green paint in, and she's taken immediately. What a brave soul. And she yells something, Slava Ukraini possibly. By the way, this green paint in the former Soviet countries, and in Russia still, and in Estonia also sometimes, it is also a medicine. It's not a paint, it's a medicine that's just very green, like brilliant green, they call it in Estonian. And you put it at your skin wounds if you have any. It cleans them and doesn't allow the bacteria in. And it really messes up everything it touches because it's so green. But it also cures your skin if necessary. So that's what they do. They pour that onto the voting ballots. Here, my friends, again, we see a woman. I have to give it to the Russian women because they have a lot more balls than the Russian men. It seems like Russian men don't do nothing. It's the women who take responsibility and who do this. And here we see a police officer right next to her. Let's see what she does. She pours the green paint into the voting ballot and the police officer is like, "Чё делаем, блядь? Huh? What is this? What are you doing, girl?" And he doesn't react at all. She's like, what's like talking to each other. And she's doing it right now, filming it. And the police officer, and now she's like, "Okay, stop. Lady, you have to stop now. This is not okay." Look at this. Russians are so used to chaos. Stuff like this is like daily occurrence. They don't even react. Here we see another photo of that green. I mean, it looks bluish, but that's the color of it. And here's the video of that photo happened. Boom. You can see that this color is so strong, it ruins everything. It's a deadly color. Check this out. She does it. She walks out, sees the police coming, turns around, goes to the phone. "Oh, I'm just chilling here. I'm not doing nothing." Goes to the phone, and the police is like, "Okay, we gotta go. We saw what you did. We gotta go." She doesn't want to go. But you have to go. This, my friends, is a voting station in Moscow. Do you notice anything odd about it? Yeah, me neither. Except the fact that it's burning. It's burning to the ground. In Russia, things just burn. They love the burn. Now, my friends, I'll steal a few seconds of your life to bring you yet another meme. Life in the EU, life in Russia. And this is so true because in Estonia, we also have many of those ex-Soviet people with the Soviet mindset, and this is exactly what they say. "I love Russia, Russian West, Russia prospers, Putin is my president, there is freedom in Russia, goddamn EU," and then they all want to live in the EU because the money is really good. They have human rights, they have Wi-Fi, they have good roads, I mean, they have education, medication, healthcare, everything in the EU is just perfect compared to Russia. Nobody of them want to live in Russia. That's the mediocre Russian inside the EU. My friends, now I bring to you a video how voting in occupied Ukrainian Melitopol happened. Russians, this is a Ukrainian family. Please be quiet. What do you need? The man opens the door. What do you need? Hello. Who allowed you to come here? The man asks. It's on-site voting. On-site meaning they go door to door and show the ballot boxes and kind of force you to vote. What voting are you talking about? Who allowed you to come to my yard? We wanted your... What our? Our Crimea? The guy is like, what? You took a Crimea? Why did you come here? What? Can you sign? They want his signature to vote. What? To sign? You came here with a ballot? If I don't want to vote, I don't go to vote. Do you have anything against it, voting? I do. I didn't call you here. This is my yard and my house, and I don't need you here, understand? GFY together with your roosters. In Russian, this means basically that you are gay. Like if you say rooster, rooster is like very bad way of saying that you're the lowest form of society in Russia. My friend, in this video we see a voting area, voting station after hours when it's closed, and we see two women, what looks like to be signing for Putin and filling the voting papers and putting them in the boxes. So basically creating votes for Putin. This is how the 87% happened, because these babushkas here just voted for Putin for 1 million times, 12 hours a night. This is Russian democracy. Always has been like that. Now, my friends, there were a lot of people in Russia who actually did go and vote for Putin. Like, yeah, of course, many of them abstained, many of them voted for other candidates or bought the green paint. But there were tens of millions who actually did and vote for Putin. Now, voting for Putin, what does it mean? And these people know it. They know what it means because Putin started a war in Ukraine and is bombarding Ukrainian civilians and children. So voting for him is saying that I stand for the genocide in Ukraine. Every Russian idiot who is bragging, I voted for Putin, subscribe for atrocities Russia has committed. They subscribe for Bucha. When the Mariupol trials are held, they all will be whining. We did not vote for Putin. We did not elect him. But the Russians right now have collective responsibility for their president or dictator who is Putin. So if a person is in Russia and doing nothing about the situation, he is, through that, enabling Putin to be a dictator or president, whatever you call him, enabling these war crimes. That's how I see it. And now, my friends, to sum up the electoral videos for you, I'll read you an analysis by Anton Hiroshenko. In Russia, people don't really want to go to vote anymore because they know it doesn't mean anything, it's just a game. So Russia really needs to work very hard to get them to vote and to play the democratic game. Now, here is a list of Russian areas who did different things to get people to actually come out and vote. In Velsk, Arkhangelsk, the authorities decided to act in advantage and by manipulating children. In Zlatoust, Chelyabinsk region, women are offered to be examined by a gynecologist after voting. What? In Yelizovo, Kamchatka, people receive certificates for 1,500 rubles or $16 to buy groceries after they vote. In Kurgan, raw deer sausage is being sold at a polling station. In Perm, certificates for visiting a swimming pool are being handed out. And in the West, if you listen to these things and think, what the hell, this means nothing. I can go to a pool, I can buy groceries, I can get sausage. Well, my friends, this is why you're so used to the good life in the West. In Russia, people actually go out to vote to get this stuff because they don't have anything. In these areas I just mentioned, Kamchatka, the Far East, in Perm, you would go for a sausage because you don't have nothing. You cannot buy sausage because you don't have money. So $16 worth of sausage or groceries is enough to get you to vote because people are poor. Why are people poor? Because Putin keeps it so. Why does he keep it so? Because then he can manipulate the masses with money to go to fight for him. He has this all figured out. In Altai, a lottery will be held at a polling station where one of the prizes will be a horse. Altai is like a steppe region, so of course a horse. In Chukotka, Arkhangelsk, local residents are being fed with pancakes at polling stations. In occupied Kherson, with borscht. Residents of Omsk are being given vouchers for free transportation, and in Gazan, food and household chemicals are being sold with a discount up to 25%. In Murmansk region, they promise prizes for a photo with a family at a polling station. In Ivanova, public sector workers are not promised prizes but are obliged to take a photo at the polling station and post it on social networks with the hashtag the whole family on the elections. So you're forced to do that, otherwise you will be fired. Russian democracy. In Yekaterinburg, people are motivated in a different way. They are not allowed to go to work until they vote. And they have to vote, for the correct president, right? For Putin. My friends, in Russia you cannot protest. Any kind of gathering of people will be immediately disbanded by the police. So Navalny's team, yes, the dead oppositionist Navalny's team, led by his wife now, thought of a genius way to protest. Since a lot of people will be gathering at the polling station, the police cannot disband them because it's voting. They are voting for the president. So Navalny's team organized a huge protest all across Russia and the neighboring countries. Noon Against Putin, it's called. And here we can see it. All of the people who are against Putin have to come to the voting stations at noon. Police cannot disband them because they're voting there, but actually they don't vote because they're against Putin. They're just gathering there to show how many people come up, to just visually show that they're against Putin. And all across the Russian areas or Russian-speaking areas, neighboring countries also. This is Kazakhstan, for example. A lot of people, tens of thousands of people showed up. They didn't vote, they didn't protest, they just showed up. Noon Against Putin. It's genius. So there are incredible amounts of people in the Russian society and the neighboring countries who are against Putin, but they cannot do much because police will disband them. But this is the way they showed they exist, and they're waiting for their moment. My friends, Putin's victory was declared very fast. So fast that Russia, as big country as Russia, couldn't possibly have counted the votes. It was just declared immediately after the voting period ended. It's too fast to be any kind of connection to reality. He won with 87%, something like that. Now, he made a victory speech already to the Russian people, and I'll summarize the speech for you. Two of the most important things that he mentioned in the speech, and you can read a lot from what he mentions in that speech. This is what bothers him or he needs to address because it's such a big issue to Russia. And he mentioned two things, Navalny and the Russian Volunteer Corps fighting right now in Russia. It's a Russian civil war, basically. Russian separatists, democratic forces. In his speech celebrating his election victory, Putin felt it necessary to explain at length that he had intended to exchange Navalny in a deal with Western countries, provided that he never returned to Russia. But unfortunately, the opponent unexpectedly died in prison. It is noteworthy that he attempts to portray Navalny's death as a human tragedy. This means Putin cannot ignore the fact how popular Navalny, even after death, has been in Russia. He needs to address it to bring some kind of illusory stability at least. And the Russian Volunteer Corps that he talked about, this really surprised me, because when Prigozhin was mutinying, Putin didn't even mention his name. But now he's talking about the Russian Volunteer Corps, meaning they really wreak a lot of havoc. The Russian volunteers in the Ukrainian army received special attention during the speech, predictably compared by him to the army of General Vlasov during World War II. Putin claimed that there are a total of 1,500 such fighters, of which 800 have already been destroyed. The Russian president's particular attention to Russian volunteers means that information about their activities must be widely circulated in Russia. And rightly so, because now we actually go to the next topic, which is the Russian Volunteer Corps liberating villages in Russia. They are the Russian democratic forces against Putin. They are actually liberating villages, and during the weekend 3 villages were officially visually confirmed liberated by the democratic forces. First of all, Korkovsky. This is the Russian bordering village of Ukraine, and the Russian Volunteer Corps have liberated this village of Korkovsky. We can see it happening right here. They are replacing the Russian flags with the Legion or the Russian Volunteer Corps flag. And we can see they took the flags down. Of course, they are also shelling Belgorod non-stop for the 5th, or is it maybe even 6th day in a row. This means this is not just an isolated event. This tension and fighting in the Belgorod area will continue for a longer time. My friends, I do have to comment about the Russian Volunteer Corps democratic forces fighting in the Belgorod area. People are waiting for them to march on Moscow or liberate huge amounts of area. Russian Volunteer Corps and the Siberian Battalion that are there physically present, they are battalions and they're not brigades. They don't have thousands of men. They have a few hundred men. They are, of course, at the level of special forces. They have night visions and everything. They have the best equipment, but there's still a few men. You cannot occupy long-term any big areas with, less than a brigade. It's just not physically possible. I do root for these guys. I'm all for them to take as much territory as possible and knock out the occupiers, which are the Russians. But the truth here is that the sheer numbers of their force are too small to do anything else than to just lure in a lot of Russian reserves, which does a lot of damage to the Russian army, but they are not there to occupy any huge areas or to march on Belgorod, which is just not possible. Belgorod is a huge city. They don't have enough men. What they can do, and it does insane amount of damage, is forced Russia to send huge manpower resources into the area to push them back, that does a lot of damage. And I'm glad to see that. I just feel that I need to bring the reality back that taking Belgorod is not a possibility with these forces at all. My friends, now I will bring you my favorite part of the video, and I'm so glad I get to do it again. Buy Me a Coffee members. If you're a member, I'll be butchering your names and I'll bring you 10 new names. Are you ready to wear earplugs? Otherwise your ears will bleed. Henry Laflecke, Vladimir with the W, Jochen, Sander Ude, Jon, Roger van Brunt, Imododoro Brahama, Jeffrey Stromer, and finally, None. Thank you to these 10 people for supporting the channel, and if you like to do so, the Buy Me a Coffee link is in the description below. Until my next video, my friends, you know now all about Russian sham elections, and I'll bring you new information tomorrow. So be back. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.